Heavenly Sword never quite lived up to being one of the PS3's earliest high-profile titles, but the game and its heroine, Nariko, have since found cult status, evidenced if nothing else by her frequent comparisons to fellow All-Star Kratos. And when your combat prowess is comparable to that of the God of War, you kind of deserve the invitation to the Battle Royale. So does that make Nariko a goddess of war, or just a portent of doom? Let's look to the heavens for answers. Unsurprisingly, Nariko is another combo-reliant character. However, she actually has more in common with Spike than, say, Fat Princess. While she's not a slow character by any means, her best combos are lengthy and susceptible to interruption. Therefore, your best strategy is to isolate an opponent, then unleash the pain, and Nariko possesses the tools necessary to do just that. The majority of your time will be spent on the square button. Buckle up, because you're going to be here a while. Interestingly, each square attack can be followed by a unique combo if you tap square continually. But these combos do not chain with the initial square attack, and can only be accessed after performing that initial attack. Let me show you what I mean. Tapping neutral square 3 times will perform a simple 4-hit combo worth 20 AP, no unique properties. However, continually tapping neutral square after this attack will perform another combo that will eventually flatten the opponent for 55 AP. Once again, this combo does not chain together with the previous 4-hit combo, which does give the opponent a brief window to block, but it does make it a bit simpler for novices to wail on opponents. Pressing forward and square once will perform a far-reaching swing with the Heavenly Sword, worth 10 AP. The only attack you can chain to this move before the opponent recovers is pressing square again to follow up with another 2 hits. Chaining an attack to this move is impossible. Not only is the cooldown too long, but holding forward on the analog stick after the attack is concluded will cause Nariko to roll through the opponent. You'd think this would enable you to begin another attack from the other side, but Nariko is facing away from the opponent when she gets up from the roll, and it takes crucial moments to turn around and ready another move. Maybe it would work if there was another opponent waiting for you on the other side, but leaving opponents behind you is not in your best interests. The follow-up combo for forward and square begins with a single hit that will crumple the opponent. You can branch off into another move from here, or press square again to mini-launch them. This combo is worth 35 AP. You probably won't use up and square that often, but it has its uses. What it lacks in power at just 10 AP, it makes up for in reach, capable of hitting multiple opponents at mid-range. That reach, plus its attack radius, also make it a decent anti-air. The follow-up combo, however, is forgettable, yielding just 30 AP and launching the opponent way out of your reach. Down and square, on the other hand, is an essential combo component. This move bounces opponents off the ground and into the air, similarly to a sweep. Again, holding forward after this attack will perform that useless roll, but what you can, and most likely will do, is follow up with neutral circle, which we'll get to later. Down and square's follow-up combo is the only one that can be chained with the initial attack, but it requires some very good timing. When the opponent starts to descend, press square again to swing with the Heavenly Sword. Wait a brief moment and then press square once more. If you timed it right, you should get 2 more hits in and flatten them for 50 AP altogether. If you get the timing wrong, the opponent will recover before the flattening hit will connect. None of the follow-up combos can be activated in the air, but the individual aerial moves are otherwise extremely useful across the board. The neutral square combo will yield an impressive 40 AP and also eject the opponent. The forward and square swing will yield an increased 30 AP and ejects as well. Up and square is also slightly increased in power to 15 AP, but more importantly, it's lightning quick and has a 360-degree attack radius. Finally, aerial down and square will slam the Heavenly Sword into the ground, mini-launching opponents for 20 AP. Like its ground counterpart, this is an excellent combo component. So, that was all just one button. On triangle we have those tools for isolating opponents that I mentioned earlier, plus a parry on neutral triangle. Time this move just as your opponent is about to strike and you'll unleash a 20 AP counterattack that will butt drop them. You can also use this parry against projectiles and deflect them back at your opponent. The parry will work in the air too, ejecting the opponent instead of butt dropping them. If you plan on using any of the follow-up combos on square and are worried about being interrupted, note that the parry easily cancels all of the initial square attacks. Forward and triangle might only yield 10 AP, but it can be useful. It will push opponents back to mid-range, giving you some breathing room or a chance to escape. Alternatively, you can then reel them in again with down and triangle. This is almost identical to Parappa's neutral circle microphone, except with a longer range and more power at 20 AP. In the air, the attack is slightly different. The grapple is now aimed at opponents below you, but the range is dramatically reduced. The opponent will also be butt dropped to the ground instead of remaining in the air with Nariko. One of Nariko's best attacks is found on up and triangle. This fully launches opponents for 20 AP. It's quite short ranged, but the cooldown is practically non-existent, so following up with an aerial attack is a cinch. One aerial attack you might want to consider is, funnily enough, aerial up and triangle. This juggles opponents for 20 AP and also covers some distance, so it doubles as an evasive maneuver. Now we come to circle. Neutral circle is the move you will most often use here. It looks like a throw, but doesn't behave like one. It can be blocked or interrupted, for instance, but rather than eject or launch the opponent, it stuns them. This is a great move for chaining a combo together, whether on the ground or in the air, but it's not a good individual move. It yields just 10 AP, and like I said, its lengthy animation can be interrupted. Forward and circle is one of Nariko's 2 long-range attacks. This fires a rocket with a good range, but it will explode after a couple of seconds. The ability to direct this rocket mid-flight is pretty sweet, and can prove a nuisance for your opponents if you ever find yourself on the outside of a brawl. The startup and cooldown are pretty long though, so don't think about spamming it. Up and circle startup is also pretty long, but it has its own interesting properties. This will throw a shield that ricochets off both opponents and surfaces. It has a greater range than forward and circle, and indeed most attacks, but it won't completely cross some of the larger stages. You can also choose the trajectory of the shield upon launch. Simply tap up and circle to throw the shield forward. Keep the analog stick held up to throw it upwards, and hold down on the stick after pressing up and circle to throw it at the ground. These attacks give you an advantage over most characters, but you're still not going to be able to challenge Radek to a long-range shootout anytime soon. Finally, down and circle will summon blades from beneath the ground to crumple grounded opponents, and eject airborne ones. This attack's ability to hit opponents all around you as opposed to just in front of you makes it particularly annoying for your enemies, but the excruciatingly long startup on the ground necessitates that it be used sparingly. The aerial version is a bit easier to land, but is still easily interruptible. Nariko's combos aren't quite as accessible or easily improvised as Parappa's or Fat Princess's. Timing, positioning, and space are all more crucial, but if you can pull them off, you'll have that level 3 super in no time. Our first combo is lengthy, but a beauty to behold. Begin with the down and square kick to bounce the opponent. Time neutral circle correctly, and you'll yank them out of the air and stun them. Press up and triangle to launch them. Jump up after them and hit aerial up and triangle to juggle them. Pressing neutral circle again immediately after this attack should grab them and stun them once more. Finish off with the aerial neutral square combo for 150 AP. The hardest part of this combo is actually timing the first neutral circle attack correctly. The rest isn't nearly as hard as it looks. Combo number 2 has a greater reach as it makes use of forward and square and its follow-up combo. Begin by double tapping forward and square for the 3-hit 20 AP combo. The chain will reset as we discussed, but that's not necessarily a bad thing as it allows you to cram in more AP. Continue with the entirety of the forward and square follow-up combo. When the opponent is mini-launched, throw them even further into the air with up and triangle. Double jump after them and grab them with neutral circle. Finish with the aerial neutral square combo. This will trigger the AP burst at 135 AP. Combine that with the initial forward and square combo, and that's a total of 155 AP. If you're feeling adventurous, jump once instead of twice and juggle them with aerial up and triangle, then grab them with neutral circle and finish with neutral square. This is a little trickier to pull off than in the other combo, but if you succeed, you will reap a total of 175 AP, which is certainly not to be scoffed at. Our final combo is a bit different as it begins in the air. Crumple the opponent with aerial down and circle. This gives you plenty of time to kick them with down and square. Immediately tap the jump button and reel them in with aerial down and triangle. With them now on the ground and you in the air, return to earth with aerial down and square to launch them again. As they're falling, time down and triangle correctly to reel them in once again. The AP burst will then eject them for a total of 130 AP. While the supers of the combo characters we've looked at so far have ranged from good to mediocre, Nariko fares a little better. However, her level 1 and level 2 are definitely more suited for 4-player matches than they are for one-on-one battles. For her level 1, Nariko will spawn a barrel of fireworks at mid-range, and her friend Kai will appear to shoot them with her crossbow. This super is slow and requires careful positioning, but the blast radius is at least pretty big. You'll want to practice with this one and get a feel for the range. Once you do, dropping the barrel into the middle of a 3-way brawl is usually a safe bet. Note that if the barrel spawns in the air, it will fall for a brief moment and then explode. Just putting that out there. Her level 2 might actually be worse. Nariko jumps into a turret that fires flaming cannonballs. This immobilizes her and leaves her completely open to a counterattack from another super. Therefore, positioning is absolutely critical. You can flip the turret around, but this wastes valuable moments as you have about 6 seconds before it disappears altogether. Spamming cannonballs will use up your time even faster, so pick your shots carefully. If you're in an optimum position and have a good aim, 3 kills shouldn't be too hard. Level 3 is where all that combo work pays off, and like Radek, it's sure to be part of the debate for best level 3. Nariko transforms into the goddess, granting her a new moveset with outstanding range. Square will cause Nariko to jump forward, grab a single opponent and slam them into the ground, killing them and anyone else that's hit on impact. This is the slowest option Nariko has in this state, so don't make it your go-to. That should be triangle. Here, Nariko grabs an opponent at long range and whirls them around the screen, again taking out anyone else in the path of the attack. Circle unleashes a maelstrom of whips and chains that throws opponents at mid to long range into the air. You can steer Nariko around during this attack in order to ensnare more opponents as well. The great thing about Nariko's level 3 is that even if your super meter runs out of AP, the enhancement won't end until Nariko has finished whatever attack she's executing. Because Circle has such a large area of effect and runs for a good long while, I like to finish with this move at the last possible second to maximize my kill count. And what is that maximum? 9. I swear this is actually possible. Ordinarily, you should get about 4 to 6 kills, maybe even 7, depending on how spread out your opponents are when you activate the super. But on a small, flat stage like Dojo or San Francisco, and without wasting any time upon your opponent's respawn, you can score up to 9 kills with 1 level 3 super. How can you resist that? Nariko has quickly become one of my favourite All-Stars. She's a properly well-balanced combo character, ideally suited for intermediate players. She's more reliant on timing and positioning than most, but the majority of her melee attacks have excellent range, and don't forget that killer level 3. Seriously, 9 kills. Time for our key points. Like Spike, Nariko needs room to breathe in order to pull off her lengthier, most powerful combos. Work to isolate your opponents and then they'll be no match for you. Your triangle moves will help with this. Down in triangle can bring long range opponents to you, while up in triangle and forward in triangle are great for crowd control. Speaking of up in triangle, it's also your best option for getting opponents into the air and following up with a strong aerial square attack. Try neutral square for single foes, forward and square for groups, and up and square if you're surrounded. Finally, master some combos so you can quickly climb to level 3. Her level 1 can also prove effective with good aim, but level 3 is a safer and far more devastating bet. Did I mention that you could get 9 kills with it? Anyway, that's it for today. I've been Jack from the Beard Network, and I'll be back next time with another All-Star Guide.